Hello, and welcome to another episode of Out of Our League. How is everybody doing today? Today we have a really fun guest, a special guest, someone I am super excited to introduce. But first, Caesar, how are you today?
Um, it's been a weird week because I cut my hair and I'm cleaning my room and I'm just tired.
All right, sounds good. Al, the Predator Tribesman, how are you today?
Hello. Doing great. Looking forward to this.
Nice. Gage, the man with one job, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, Phil. Thank you.
Awesome. McKenna, Potter Pants 212, second host, or second host, second producer. How are you today?
I'm living the life. How are you, Phil?
I'm doing pretty good. And the disembodied voice from New Zealand, Ben, please be excited. How are you today?
What's up? What's up, Phil? How you doing, buddy?
Doing well.
I'm good. I'm a little worried for McKenna, whose power might go out at any moment. But other than that, I'm pretty
see.
good.
Yeah,
We'll see.
apparently there's a storm being born and raised in Philadelphia right now.
Nice. Nailed it.
That was very good.
I made that joke earlier.
I know you did. I totally stole it. But of course, the reason we're all here today, the reason this episode is happening, if you're watching, you've obviously seen his beautiful face already. Tamoor, how are you doing today?
I didn't know you were going to go to me. You said beautiful face and then pointed it to me. I thought you were going to go for someone else.
Are you kidding me? Look at that beard. It's gorgeous. That's a goal right there.
How you guys doing? How you folks doing? It's good to be here. I'm excited to chat to you. That was a very, very good introduction for everyone. And I feel like I've got a real good grasp of everyone now.
Good.
Nice.
You have no idea what I could throw at you. You just hold on to
That
your
is the
seat.
whole point of the intro, you know? Obviously,
Yep,
I give
Caesar's our
Caesar
wild
the
card.
first and shortest intro because if you let him go on too long, things can get real crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about that blue box game or whatever the Hideo Kojima
Oh no!
thing.
Stop
No,
it! Stop it!
no.
Do I want to
No-
talk about
no
it?
chair
No,
throwing.
absolutely not.
No, he threw a chair once in an episode. That's what he's referring to.
I have no interest in talking about that game. I mean, I
We-
will if you ask me a question.
No,
but-
no, I'm good. No.
You know, but I do want to ask you something, Tamoor. Who are you for all of our listeners and viewers that don't know who you are?
I am a person on the internet, and specifically, that is, I am the managing editor of GameSpot.com. I work on videos for GiantBomb.com and host there as well, and I also host Kind of Funny.
Yeah.
And then I do Twitch stuff at twitch.tv/TamoorH and various other things that I'm probably forgetting.
The man
but-
with too many jobs.
I've
Yeah,
got
the
too
man
many
with
jobs. Yeah, I have. I think I do have too many jobs, but I enjoy it. So
You're like the Thanos of the games media. You're just collecting, one by one each news outlet. This is great.
and then I'm not like Thanos because my life is perfectly imbalanced instead of perfectly
Oh, no.
balanced.
Before we move on, I know something important is going on this week. So Gage, I'm gonna record two things and just edit accordingly. I know you're not gonna edit, so this is just gonna be funny for me.
I'm not going to
Tamoor,
edit. It's almost like you know me.
I know you so well. Tamoor, congrats on winning the Min-Max Trivia Tower thing, everybody.
Oh, thank you so much.
Congrats on winning.
It's a surprise to me because I'm terrible at trivia.
And also, okay, just in case, also, better luck next time, Tamoor.
It wasn't a surprise to me because I'm terrible at trivia. So,
Love it.
So
That's happening tomorrow, and this comes out in what, 2 weeks?
yeah, well, it'll be next week.
Maybe,
Next
yeah,
weekend.
Next
Okay.
weekend.
We have Andrea Renee's episode pops this week.
Wait, no.
nice.
Wait, that's happening Monday, right?
Monday,
Or-
yeah, it's going to be
okay,
on
yeah.
Monday, 5 p.m. West Coast time.
Min-Max, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it already happened. So
Yeah, all the things we're talking about already happened.
Check out the VOD.
Thank you very much, Caesar.
So, what inspired you to get into games media? Was that something that you always wanted to get into, or was that something that happened along the way?
It was something that kind of I wanted to do. I always wanted to work in games in some capacity. Games were the only thing I really cared about growing up. They were kind of the thing that I oriented my entire life around. It was just the my childhood was defined by games and just wanting to be close to games. And I grew up consuming media for games, and it took a while for me to realize that that was something that I could do. Mainly because of, you just don't think of it. Like, it's not a career option that's ever presented to you. Well, it wasn't back in the day. I guess in the modern day, you could get it via the context of you can be a streamer, or you can be a presenter, or you could be that kind of stuff. But it was like you would more likely to be told you're a journalist. You could be a journalist, but they would never say you could be a video game journalist. You're a writer. You could write video games. It would be video games were never kept in that kind of regard or presented as that kind of option. So I just never made that connection. And then one day I was like, people are definitely writing these magazines, and then
Gary
I got
Whitta,
yeah, exactly, Gary Whitta.
Wrote all of them.
He wrote every single one of them.
He was writing them when I was a kid.
One of the folks that was actually writing for video game magazines in the UK was Frank O'Connor, who went on to work on and write on Halo, and is at 343, and he was at the company that I later on worked at many years before my time, but when I was younger, he was there. Kieran Gillen, who went on to write at DC Comics and that kind of stuff, another person that I grew up reading. So there are quite a few famous faces in the British community or in the British games journalism kind of pantheon that have come and gone. But yeah, that was kind of like a not wake up call, but that was where I was like, oh, I could try and do this. And I spent a lot of time just trying. Well, I spent a lot of time wanting to do it, but then never actually trying, because it was like, because of cultural pressure and that kind of stuff. It was like I had to be a doctor or a lawyer or that kind of stuff. So I grew up doing that stuff on the side just for myself, as a way of like just discussing games with no one in particular. And like I got educated in English language, and that was where my writing background started. That was where I started and English language was not really about writing. So at college, we had English language as an option and English literature. And the literature side of it was like, we're going to read Shakespeare's boring ass work and tear that apart. And then English language was like the technicality of the English language, like sentence structure, syntax, that kind of stuff. And I was like, I'll take the language, because I don't really care about Shakespeare. Like, I'm sure he's got some good ideas, but they're not for me. And then yeah, and that was, I did psychology while I was in college. So I got a qualification in psychology, and then ultimately went into a degree for law. And so my degree is in law, like I have a legal background. But that along that path, it was like at a certain point I came to a juncture where it was like I can pursue a career as a barrister or a solicitor, or I could like drive my soul into the ground, because the legal system in the UK is a hot mess and is like a field that it was at the time, and still very much is incredibly racist, and it would limit how far a person with my skin tone could go. Or I could try and work on this video game nonsense. And I wasn't really decided at that point, but I got my degree in law, and then there were some issues with me being awarded my degree because my university accused me of cheating in my own exams, which wasn't the case. But someone else had messed around with their paper and put my name on it, and it could cause some confusions. And university institutes are very stupid, and they're not very good at figuring out. It was literally like two papers appeared. One had my name on it, and one had my name on it with my name spelt wrong, and they couldn't figure out which one might have been mine. And I was like, you guys are fucking stupid.
Wow.
It's weird when you get a bunch of smart people together like that.
Yeah,
right?
They all cancel each other out, and everyone's an idiot. That's why you always need a few idiots in the group to keep check.
That's why they keep me around.
Yeah, we made this.
I put that comment out there to see which one of you would go for the bait. So I'm doing some psychology on you, and I figured out a lot there.
He's playing 3D chess right now. He's playing Jenga right now.
We actually have a friend of the show, Rahul, who not Rahul Kohli, different Rahul.
Yeah.
But he works in video game law, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
So
That's
he
awesome.
also went into law, and he also writes about video games, but he actually does video game law. So all those lawsuits that you see, like Epic Games or something like that, not saying that one in particular, but those sorts of lawsuits are
Yeah.
things he has involvement in, which is kind of
He used
cool.
to work for he used to work for Xbox UK, and now he's for some indie company, I think.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I mean, there's so many entry points into the video games that have always been there, but that's what I was saying, where like society and even cultures never tell you that they are viable. Like no one ever tells you can be a video game lawyer. They just tell you can be a lawyer, and you have to somehow just back then you had to make a genius like galaxy brain move and be like, I'm gonna be a lawyer, but I'm gonna do video game or IP or that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, it's just amazing to hear like how many entry points there are now. But I ended up just in retail, kind of in limbo, because while the university figured that stuff out, I couldn't really do anything with that degree. So I just worked retail. I worked a number of retail jobs at the same time. One of which was in a store called Game, which is the equivalent is GameStop, and they have them around in America, and I think Game was around in various countries around the world, and then also HMV, which is I think that's a very British store, which is like music and
Like a
DVDs
Virgin
and
Megastore
yeah,
type
like
of
a Virgin Megastore, exactly. Yeah. So like those two, and interned at GameSpot at the same time, and long story short, like it was about a year and a half of working in retail to 2 years before I got my degree, and then around that same time, like I got hired at a place called CVG, which is Future Publishing, which is where a lot of the magazines in the UK were produced. And I was like, I'll just see where this takes me, and it's taken me on some wild rides. I left the industry for a little period and then came back, and it ultimately it got me here where I am now.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Truly hate to see it.
You're down such a bright path, and we just messed it up. No, first I want to say, Phil, when you brought up Rahul, I thought you were gonna be like, we have a friend named Rahul. He's actually a big idiot, and so I was like, well, that's a weird timing to bring him up.
It would be
But
very strange.
since you kind of brought it up a little bit, Tamoor,
Mm.
I have a question here from Kale at Dolphin Corn. There's two questions, but we're gonna go over the first one. It's not really a question. It just says, I would love to know how your perspective of being a minority in the industry and what your experience has been like. And on top of that, I want to ask you, as somebody, I'm Mexican American, so
Mm.
I'm a minority. I'm trying to be in the games industry space.
Mm.
Do you ever get scared of being yourself?
Yes. The answer to that is yes. And I guess it's the experience of feeling that fear within the industry is a microcosm of feeling that fear in the real world as a whole, right?
Mhm.
You don't feel scared because you're a Mexican American in the games industry. You feel scared because you're a Mexican American in the world,
Yeah.
and the issues in the games industry are a reflection of that world. So there is always that fear exists, and it's not exclusive to this industry. But yeah, that being yourself is a difficult thing in this industry. However, I think the one upside of it is that it's changed drastically, especially of late. A few years ago, it would have been much harder. But now I feel like people from minority backgrounds are given a little more opportunity. Well, I don't want to say given. They have the opportunity.
Allotted, I guess.
Sorry?
Allotted? More options? I don't
Not
know.
even allotted. Like I think there's more opportunities
In
for
general?
people from like diverse backgrounds to carve their own path and make a niche. Because I don't want to say given or allotted, because that implies that someone in a position of power is giving you the opportunity and kind of giving you the permission. And although that is the case, there are situations where someone will give you the permission to do it and use that for their own benefits. I think for the purposes of people aspiring to be in the industry, the thing to know is you don't have to do that. You can be that power broker. You can be that for yourself. And that is because the platforms that allow you to create the kind of community and the kind of place that you want are there, and you can create that of your own and be the power holder, the stakeholder in your own thing. Like I came up, I'm kind of my experience is interesting because I came up within the structure of like an older structure where that wasn't there. Twitch wasn't a big thing. Twitter wasn't a big thing. YouTube wasn't a big thing. Facebook wasn't a big thing, and God willing, will not be a big thing for much longer. Please stop making content for Facebook.
Every time I get that ad for streaming on Facebook, and I'm like, why?
I was like,
why would
no,
I-
I'm good. Yeah, I mean, like the others are hardly better, but Facebook is just like openly, patently evil. So it's just like I'm gonna go with the ones that are at least trying not to look evil. So but yeah, like those doesn't exist for me. So I came up through like traditional media, which is magazines. Those were my entry point, are now outdated, pretty much dead, unless you count Game Informer and a few magazines in the UK, a form of media. So I had to play to different rules that not necessarily everyone has to right now. Those rules still exist, but you have the ability to define your own rules. Whereas in my day, it was I need to figure out how best to work within these rule sets that other people have established. And those other people were white males that had been in there for a long time and were the gatekeepers and the power holders. So I mean, like it was like that process of coming up during that meant that I couldn't be myself 100%. I never betrayed. I tried my best not to betray who I am by pretending to be someone else entirely. And I think most people who have worked with me or know me would agree with that. I've never acted like someone else. But then there are certain things that I very clearly had to do to get to the position I'm in now. Things like code switching, things like minimizing my cultural background and not wearing that on my sleeve. To a degree, I do regret that, but to a degree, I also don't regret it because it got me to the position I am in now where I can do that openly in front of people who need to see it happening at a time when they can be empowered to do something with it, if you get what I mean.
Yes.
Like back then, if I did it, either I would have kind of limited where I could go, or not a lot of people would see it and have the platforms to do the same. Now I'm in a position where I have a decent platform, an okay platform, and the people who see it and think I want to be able to do that because I'm like that can do it. So yeah, it is, but still, nevertheless, even today, it is a constant struggle of being who you are and who I am. Even the person I am now, on very publicly, isn't who I am 100%. Like I don't put the authentic me out there 100% because the authentic me doesn't work in a lot of scenarios. I'm a Pakistani, born in Pakistan, Muslim, raised on the streets of East London, very rough upbringing, grew up in what is effectively the American equivalent of the projects, had a pretty violent upbringing, rough and ready off the streets. That is who I am. And the way I sound now is not how the way I have spoken the majority of my life. It's a different kind of it's a different person, but it's not it's not a lie, if you get what I mean. I'm not sitting here in front of you being like, this is a fake presenter person. This is who I am, but it's not the 100% authentic me. This is who has been crafted into the person that is able to sit here in these communities, in these conversations.
Yeah, something I've picked up on over the years is that people have different personalities that come out in different scenarios. For example, everybody's heard that joke of like the fake phone person, like when you're on a job and you pick up the phone and you're like,
Mm.
"Hello, how are you doing today?" Like they're all still a part of you, but they're just different scenarios in which certain people come out.
Yeah,
Anyways,
exactly.
yeah.
For sure. I hope that answers your question. I don't remember what the
Yeah.
question was entirely, but I just rambled for a
It,
bit.
it was just like about diversity in the game space, and
Okay.
you did
Okay.
your
Yeah,
experience with diversity.
actually,
The one parting message I would say is right now, don't let people tell you you can't be who you are, and if you are that person, you won't get far. That's bullshit. I was told that many times, and I tried my best to still work within who I am. We are now in an age where someone who tells you that is trying to keep you down because they usually will see something in you that is a threat to them. Usually it's people who are not from diverse backgrounds telling you that, and that is because they know that their time is coming. They can't just be the default anymore, and that scares them. So whenever someone says to you, you need to talk this way or do this, that, speak this way or look this way or behave this way, ask yourself whether you feel confident doing that, or do you feel confident in being who you are and feel like you can connect with people with just that authenticity? Because I bet you will feel that way, and you should absolutely pursue that, because people can see a fake and tell a fake from a mile off, and that will just stunt your growth.
Yeah.
this makes me think of the tweet that you made a while ago about a job position that opened up at GameStop spot. We said GameStop earlier, where you said would love to get more diverse voices applying for this. If you're a person of color and have experience,
Mhm.
please apply. This statement implies that you want more diverse people. You're letting more diverse people know that you want them to apply. Not necessarily that they're going to be hired for this position, but that you want them to apply.
Yeah.
And I remember reading a bunch of the responses to that about people kind of taking it the wrong way. The people that you're talking against at the moment, who didn't come from more diverse backgrounds and maybe like you were saying, are trying to put other people down. And it's just so crazy to me how like horrible people can be. I was recently part of Indigenous Peoples Day, which was like super big for me. And seeing a bunch of my art and assets like with so many great Native American creators was something that I didn't know that I needed as much as I did but watching that show and seeing all of the rampant racism towards indigenous peoples was so hard, as amazing as the whole presentation was. And like a small comment, like you just asking for people to apply, like, getting that same sort of aggression is just blows my mind sometimes. Just
Yeah. I mean, like, it comes from people who are, anime frog avatars on Twitter mostly. But they are prevalent. They're everywhere. And the thing that I learned early on, and it applies to a lot of hate that I've received, and it's especially um, uh, relevant to the games industry, is a lot of that comes from, I mean, these days it's hard to ignore the fact that it comes from a racist world viewpoint, but it also comes from a feeling of jealousy and powerlessness. Um, Jealousy in that, especially in gaming, everyone has such a feeling of ownership over everything, over franchises, over mechanics, over, ideas, over platforms. They hate the idea that someone else can share in that and even have more of a love for something than you do. And it's even worse when it's someone in a position of authority within that world. Um, so, example being, like, let's say, someone out there is a huge Batman fan, and they are in a position where they're on a big website talking about Batman and they're being held up as the authority about Batman. There's a corner of the community that hates that. They hate the idea of that person existing because they feel they know everything about Batman. I'm the Batman person. Why is this person talking about Batman? This is my character. And you get two kind of people. You get people who either one are like that and that becomes a poison to them, or you get people who are like, amazing, there's another person out there who loves Batman, and I'm gonna try and connect with them, or I'm gonna follow them, and I will use what they say to enhance and add to my life as a fan of this thing. And that sense of envy that comes from being in a position where you can authoritatively talk about something is something that I feel like fuels a lot of hate. And the choices when you are in that position are like either to take it badly or take it well, and even think about, how can I get to that position? And we're sitting in a room where everyone here, including every one of you folks, has taken the idea like, I want to be in the games industry. Instead of being like, I hate that this person talks about games in a way because I know more. You've gone, I love that this is happening around me. I want to do this. And your decision has been, let's start something. Let's make something. And that's what you've done. And other people, they're not able to do that. They look at it and they're like, I should be in that position. And then they do nothing about it. Because the fact of the matter is, they suck ass. They're not able to do it. They're terrible. They cannot write. They're probably shit in front of a camera. They cannot speak properly. They probably don't even have the knowledge. Like, keeping it 100%, most of the people in comments, and every comment that I get from someone being angry about game, I know with 100% certainty they don't know shit about games. They don't care about games. Like, every time someone tells me like, oh, you suck at this game, I know for a fact I'm better than most of the people talking to me about video games. They're just terrible people who have no self-confidence and have no ability to take their passion and turn it into something that's engaging and fruitful for themselves. And that's where it comes from. And what they hate to see is other people doing that. And they hate it even more when it's people from backgrounds that are non-traditional, diverse backgrounds. So when I put out a tweet saying, hey, if you're smart enough, you care about games enough, and you're from a diverse background, apply for this job, what they see is themselves incapable of doing all those things, and then seeing that I'm looking for someone that doesn't exactly fit their mold so they can feel good about themselves. And I'm seeking those people out to fill the positions. And that's why they get absolutely molding on Twitter and online. And honestly, if I can live my life pissing those people off every single day, I'm happy.
That's awesome. It reminds me of a story of a woman who got into like the Marvel universe through Thor, the movie.
Mm.
And that was her like entryway into comics. And she was telling a story about how she got like accosted in a comic book store by this guy who was like, "Oh, I bet you don't even know anything about comics. Like, why are you even in here?" Um, and yeah, sure, like the Thor movie is what like brought her into the comic book world, but like that just means that we have another person to talk and chat and like that got into this world in a cool way. Like, who cares why they're there or who they are? Like, the fact that they love what you love should be enough. And I don't know, it's just
It is gatekeeping, right? It's just plain and simple gatekeeping, and it's like unacceptable. And I can't believe it happens in this day and age. And it is usually from people who have no value, and they are incapable of creating something. It's so easy to create something. You have to be truly like bottom of the barrel human to just feel like, instead of creating something or enjoying the creations that other people make, I'm going to tear them down. I'm going to try and prevent them from making, the thing that they want to make. It's pathetic. And I think most of the people around in the industry are capable of doing real good in it and presenting a unique perspective. And
especially
my hope
with the
is
amount of energy they put into this,
Yeah.
doing exactly
Oh my
what they're
God.
doing right now.
yeah, exactly.
absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good, Alec. Get it out
No,
there.
Alice, since you have the floor, do you have anything you want to say?
We're
Way to
putting
put
you on
me
the spot now.
Caesar. I had
love putting
questions.
y'all on
I'm
the
just
spot.
looking for them now. Did you ever work for Games Master while you were at Future?
Yes, I did. I wrote for Games Master a bunch. I actually grew up writing for Games Master in a non-official capacity. So I used to send in user reviews when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
they would send me games and print them, and it was like
Jesus.
it was basically free work. But
Different
you know, it
time.
was also inadvertently creating a portfolio. So I've got a lot of published work in Games Master. And then when I got to, I think there was a period where I got to Future Publishing and did a bit for them as well in an official capacity.
That's so cool. I had every month's issue of that magazine for like a solid 3-4 years.
It was
And
amazing.
to be able to know
That's
that
great.
you wrote for that, and under these particular circumstances where maybe nobody knows that you actually did, that's so cool. Thank you.
I got a question really quickly. What trailer?
Oh right, yeah. I had the Batman trailer running at the same time.
Oh, did that just premiere?
Because it just premiered. I'm sorry, I know, but
Yeah.
like, trust me,
No,
I can
no, you're
multitask,
fine.
and there's no
No,
way
you're good.
I like you guys, but I'm not missing a Batman trailer for you. I'm keeping it 100. Like,
No,
We could do a live
I
react.
respect it.
You could have
I
marked it.
respect
We could have done a live react to it.
I 100% respect it.
I could.
awesome.
I was engaged in the conversation, so you never saw me like disengage.
That
I
just
was
shows how
there.
much of a professional you are
I
because
can
you
do
answered that
many
question.
things at the same time.
That just showed how professional you are. Because I was looking through my questions and then I refreshed Twitter and then I just see, holy shit, that trailer.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
it's a very good trailer. I can tell. I can tell.
I used to write guides for a sister website for GameSpot, but GameFAQs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What a hot mess
Not
of
to-
website that was, eh?
Not to date myself. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh man. But yeah, unofficial work is the best work sometimes.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing it out of like, something you should be paid for but aren't being paid for.
Mm,
I always felt like GameFAQs was more of a thing you did out of a passion of, for the community more so than
Yeah,
like
it
a
was-
professional capacity.
you felt like you were doing a service for the fellow gamers, and that was what kept you going. And it was in an era where there weren't like mechanisms for like affirmation, like likes and retweets and tips and all that kind of stuff. So that was like the glory days when you were doing it because of the love, just for the love. Like it is wild. But I mean, like, if anyone who did it back in the day, you've got a good amount of guides experience, and we're currently looking for a guides editor, so hit us up.
All right. I know, McKenna, you had some questions on your napkin.
Napkin of questions. Yes. So just sticking with like writing and whatnot. I was curious, like, what is your favorite part of writing and editing?
That's an interesting one. What is my favorite part of writing? It's really difficult to say what my favorite part of writing is because it changes. It changes like from depending on what I'm writing. Like, I love writing news stories because there is like a urgency to them that I find really exciting. Like I came up as a news writer. That was my main thing. Like I wrote news. I cut my teeth on news, and it was my specialty for a really long time. It wasn't what I wanted to do, but it's what my entry point was. And there's like that urgency is really exciting to me, and also like when you're able to chase stories and break stories and that kind of stuff. I don't do as much now. I don't do as much of that, but early in my career, I was doing a lot of that. And so I really love that. And then like feature writing, review writing, and preview writing. I love it, but it's also, I dread it. It's such a weird situation. Like anytime I do any one of those things, I feel like it feels like a weight is put on me, and it's something that I do to myself because I put like I want everything I write to be interesting in some way.
Mhm.
That you can you can like write a review, write a feature, or write a preview relatively easily. Like there's almost a template, and it's not like to say like that it's bad. Like a lot of places will want you to follow a certain kind of template, and when you abide by that and turn something in, people will be like, "This is great." And I've had that happen for like art writers that I speak to, because it's what I want in certain situations. But for me, I'm always like, I always try and make each thing that I write feel like an interesting experience to read or to watch or to listen to. And it's a lot of effort and a lot of stress and a lot of kind of tearing your hair out. But also it's exciting because you're forced to write in ways that you're not natural with. You never settle into a groove. You never settle into a kind of like, you can't phone it in when you approach it in that way. Every single thing I write, I want it to be different, or at least I want it to be memorable. I want people to walk away from it and think, I remember that review, because that's what I grew up reading, right? Like when I grew up reading reviews on GameSpot, it wasn't like I read the review, saw the score, and then that was it. I moved on and forgot about it. I remember that. I remembered those reviews because there was a line, or there was like a theme, or there was like a kind of interesting setup to it that stuck with me. And that's kind of like that's what defined my style, which is like, I want someone to read a review and then remember that review. And like, or be like, oh, you said this in this review, or you talked about this in this review. And that is like, coming up with that is so much, it's so rewarding, but it's also like a gut-wrenching and like horrible experience at times, especially when you couple it with the extreme conditions at which you're forced to do them because of the way the industry is. For example, like I wrote my Final Fantasy. I had Final Fantasy VII Remake. I was a reviewer for that. I think I played it in 2 days nonstop. Like morning to night. I had 3 hours of sleep basically in between it, and that was to hit the deadline. I started writing that review, and I wrote the entire thing, and I read it back, and it didn't feel good to me, because it didn't do the thing that I wanted to do, where it didn't feel like a review that someone might read and then go, I'll remember this review. And like, it was 3 a.m. in the morning. I'd written 2,000 words, and I just like Control A, delete, and started again. And that is the downside of having that kind of mentality, where you do stupid things, or you do things that are like most people wouldn't do, because you're so like intent on writing a specific thing in a specific way. And for me, it was like, this is a review for a remake of one of the most beloved games of all time. There's no way I can do it short shrift. It needs to be like amazing. This needs to be the best review I can write. And that's hard to pull out at 3 a.m. in the morning after 2 days of playing nonstop. But like, I wrote my review, and I felt at least that second version was better than my first version. That's the one that got published. So there's this kind of like tortured writer feeling that you get from writing, that's amazing and awful at the same time. It's amazing because it's creativity, right? It's expression, and it's like problem solving, and it's like trying to put words to feelings and ideas and thoughts, as well as analysis. And it just pulls so many different strings, and it has so many requirements on you as a writer, that there's the sense of growth you get from writing about games, is because of the nature of games and how complicated they are, and how nuanced the analysis of it can be. Like, it feels like you level up by 10 every single time you write a piece about a game. And that's really rewarding for me.
Greg Kasavin was like one of my heroes back at GameSpot, and now you look at what he's doing over at Supergiant, and it's like, it's no wonder, why Supergiant stuff is just so amazing. He always had some of the most memorable reviews for me. Like, whenever I think about a review that sticks out in my head, whether it's like Devil May Cry 3 or whatever else, like, it always seems to be a Greg review.
And he's one of the people that defined my style, or my approach and mentality and ethos to writing reviews. He's one of the main people that did that. Like, I remember Greg Kasavin reviews. When I was done reading a Greg Kasavin review, it didn't get filed away or discarded out of my brain. It was something that I thought about for a long time. And there are times when, even now, when I'm feeling like writer's block, where I will type in a writer's name that I know has an impact to be inspiring to me, and I'll go back and read a Greg Kasavin review, or I'll read a Simon Parkin review, or I'll read a Christian Donlan review, because they are people that when I read their work, I'm like, this is unlike anything else that I've ever read. Like, no one else writes reviews like these people. If I can just get like just within a mile of how good they are, I'll feel good about myself. And I don't think I've ever managed it, but I keep trying to get there. And that's going to be what my goal is until I die, or maybe one day someone says you did it, or whatever.
That's awesome.
Really quickly, I want to ask, you've been doing a lot of podcasts recently. Do you prefer writing still or talking on podcasts?
I prefer writing. I love writing. Like, I love writing to death, and I always feel like I'm the managing editor. So like my role is
job.
like, yeah, it's no, it's not my job, which is the interesting thing. That's the truth about being a managing editor. When you get to that stage, you're no longer producing content. You're just your air traffic control, your ground control on content. You're moving resources around. You're putting people in touch with the people that you manage to create the content. That's traditionally what the role is. But like, when I took the job, I was made a promise to myself that I'd never stop creating content, because if I'm just managing, that's not what I got into this for. I got into this to write about games and talk about games and do stuff around games. So I wrote. You kind of forget, and you lose the touch with it, and touch with the community and the things that they love and your love of it. Like, I'm a managing editor, and I wrote 3 news stories today. Like, that's not usually what managing editors do, right? Like, I would delegate that. I would get someone else that I work with, or like someone I manage, to be like, hey, you're working this weekend, you're writing these stories. That's not who I am. I got up early to write that myself, because I wanted to have that done. I wanted to feel like I'm connected. I also don't want people to work on the weekends, so I'm going to try and do that as much as possible where I can. And I've promised myself I want to continue to write, so I still write reviews, even though I'm the person assigning the review. So I could assign that review to someone else. I chose to do that. I wanted to do Deathloop, which is my last review, because it's a game that I was excited about and I wanted to write about. And same for videos. Like, I want to be in videos, and I want to script videos, and like, I'm in helping with the process. If I'm not writing the script myself, I'm helping people improve their scripts or improve their reviews. I edit almost everything that comes through the site myself, along with others, of course. Like, there's a massive, amazing team, but like, there's very few things that are published on GameSpot that I haven't looked at. And had some hand in, like, tweaking here or there. The news is probably the thing that is the one that I have least amount of oversight on now, because there's so much of it and it's happening so many times. But at one point, I was the head of news, so every news story for a significant period of time was something that I looked at. Now it's a guy named Chris Pereira, who's one of my closest friends and is like an incredible editor. And like, on the video side, for example, is Lucy James, who's like an incredible writer, presenter, editor, host, and we work with folks like Kurt and Evan, and there's so many people here, and we work together on this stuff. But I'm always involved in some capacity. And then, like, podcasts are an amazing thing, because I can kind of switch off that part of my brain, and just be a little more natural and talk. I'm better at writing to express myself than talking to express myself. I grew up like, and when I was growing up, I was very terrible at public speaking, and I had to go through like speech therapy in school, because I had a very weird kind of like, according to the person that I worked with when I was younger in primary school, like, my brain moved faster than my mouth was able to like get the words out. So it was just constantly like, I was just spouting garbage, nonsense, gibberish. And like, I had to be taught to slow down my brain, and it's still a thing that I have to do. But like, I'm not a confident speaker. I just have to. It is difficult, but I enjoy doing it. as just kind of like a challenge to myself to train that muscle to keep some level of eloquence in speaking. So I love that, but also like I get to have conversations with people. Like it's not an isolation approach. It's a building relationship. Like I'm talking to you all right now, and I wouldn't do that if I was writing something. You know?
Yeah, different scenarios again.
Yeah, yeah.
McKenna, you still got questions over there?
Yes, I do. No, I also just want to say like I'm very similar in the sense of like writing. I'm so much better at writing than talking. Like I was a writing tutor last year, and I said so many times, I'm like, I'm so sorry, my brain is faster than how I'm
Mm.
talking. Right, like I need to just chill out and like actually just teach them the grammar technique. But you know, so I very much so relate.
Because when you're like that, like there's no takesy backsies on speaking,
Yeah.
if you get what I mean.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
and like when you write something down, like you immediately, as an editor, you spot what's gone wrong there,
Mhm.
and or if you don't, like when you read it back, you're like, something's wrong here.
Mhm.
There's a flow to it that's wrong, or like there's an awkwardness here, and you can revise that.
Yeah.
And when you're like the way we are, like that feels good. It feels like self-improvement, and it feels like it's almost like creating like a balance in the world, because you see the problem, something feels off, you fix it, and then you're like, all is well.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't do that in speech. Once you say something wrong, like it becomes a whole like a fight to fix that, because you got to apologize, and then you feel anxious about it, and then you're like, that's why writing has that impact.
Yeah.
Really quickly, I kind of want to apologize because earlier I did that where you were saying gatekeep, and then I said gaslight, and I stopped myself before I could say girl
Yeah,
boss.
a girl
And then
boss.
I
So
was just like,
that's where it goes.
and I was
That's where
just
it
like,
goes.
I felt so bad because you were on a very serious topic, and I was just like,
No. That was
you.
in my brain. In my brain, I was like, yeah, girl boss. That's the next part of it. But I was in the middle of a word, so I didn't get a chance to say it. I think it's
But yeah,
Was it gatekeep, girl boss?
no, it's gaslight,
No,
gatekeep, girl
gaslight,
boss.
gatekeep. Yeah, and then slay
Yeah,
queen at the end is, I
yeah,
think,
it's
the
like
new
you.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is huge fan.
If anybody takes anything away from this podcast, it's to
Yeah.
gaslight, gatekeep, and girl boss.
Slay queens. Yeah.
H or Ben, did you guys have any questions? Besides the community questions, which we'll get to very soon.
I've got one if it's all right.
Yeah.
So Tam, obviously people, they know you pretty well for a particular piece of software from a particular developer. That obviously being Crystal Dynamics.
Yes.
Obviously you play Avengers. I'm a huge Avengers fan. I just want to hear your thoughts on the game and what you really want to see, going forward from Crystal Dynamics with the next, what they plan on doing next.
So I'll freely admit it's been a little while since I played Avengers, mainly because the situation. I was playing it intensely when it came out, because I was here, and I was like, I had my own setup, and then I had to go back to the UK for a period of time where it was much harder to synchronize with the people I was playing with, which is Greg Miller and Andrew Goldfarb and a few others and that kind of stuff. But
What a squad!
it was a pretty good squad. Sean Norton, Simon Cardy, and a few others as well. But I so because of that, I fell off the game slightly. I still not done the Wakanda stuff. But I feel like it's a tricky one, because fundamentally it is an Avengers game and it is a Marvel game. So I'm like almost hardwired to want to experience it. And I really liked the single player for it. The Kamala stuff was, it's gonna hit for me because of the similarities in our backgrounds. And it's the character that I loved. I think it's this game that is like flawed in so many ways. And the thing that I find is fascinating about it, and I'm thankful, is they're not giving up on it. And they're kind of sticking with it. Where I want it to go is like, I think they need a better cadence of
Release
content coming out. Yeah. It feels very stilted right now. There's like milestones here and there. And the thing that I really struggle with is you can almost see, it feels almost everything feels recycled in some way. Which is unfortunate. Like even when they do stuff that's like big and bold, it's easy for folks to just look at it and go like, I see where you got the pieces of this, and you stuck it together. I wish there was more of a kind of initiative, use the pun, to create wholly unique content, new ideas, new mechanics, and that kind of stuff, and engage people in a more interesting way. I find the grind of it tedious. I find a lot of I've not done any of the like big new raid stuff or like the big new team-based gameplay stuff, just because I'm like, I don't see why I want to do any of this stuff. Like the cosmetic stuff no longer interests me in a major way. Nothing in there's particularly exciting to me. And I'm real sad that the narrative isn't hooking me in the same way that the single player did. It was never going to. But like none of the stories that are happening within, I haven't tried Wakanda, so maybe that's different. But everything else is just kind of annoying. It's just like, oh no, we've got a robot in this area's gone bad again. Oh look, Taskmaster's here. Which is like, okay, you're just telling the same thing with different. Even the Hawkeye stuff is like, okay, you didn't really do much with it. You kind of like the whole Days of Future Past stuff was kind of interesting, or like whatever that stuff was with Kate and Clint. But I wish there was more of that. It just doesn't. It feels like they're really not capturing. They're not leveraging the Marvel universe to its fullest. It doesn't feel like a game that I want to spend all my time in. Even as someone who like adores the Marvel universe and has been reading the comics since I was a kid, it's the biggest problem that they have. It's a game that makes it very easy to bounce off of and forget about. And that's not what you want. Like Destiny is the complete opposite, where they could be churning out the most average kind of repeated content, but that world is created in a way that people just don't want to leave it. They want to be there all the time. And it's the polar opposite for Marvel, where if you want to experience Marvel, the universe, the best place and the best way to do it is go find something else, which is a bad situation to be in.
So what I'm hearing is you love it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had a fantastic time with it, and I love it, and I hope that it continues to. I hope that it succeeds and gets to where they want it to be. I hope that they build platforms to build it into a platform properly and do right by it, because I want that game to succeed, and I want that team to succeed. I mean,
for me, I really wish that they had done almost like a Ghost of Tsushima thing, where the single player was the single player and the multiplayer was the multiplayer. Yeah. Because man, they almost hit it with the Kamala story. I've told Ben this, but I wish they would have just kept it all from her perspective. Yeah. Like introduce us to those characters that are gonna be playable in the multiplayer, but just keep us focused on playing as Kamala so that we can experience all of this through her eyes and give us that one-to-one story instead of trying to break it up and do all these other things. Like just keep including her and making her part of the story. Yeah. And I think that would have grabbed me 100%, where instead towards the end I was like, man, do I really want to finish this? And then I ended up finishing it, and I ended up dropping a ton of hours into the full multiplayer. But that story could have been, like that 9.5 out of 10 for me if they had just stuck with it.
That's so close to greatness on it. There's just a few things they could tweak and fix and hopefully balance out that'll really make it something special in the future. But yeah, there's definitely some problems with it.
The multiplayer is getting better and better. Every time they release new stuff, right, it does feel a bit better. It's just the big thing is like, why am I grinding? What am I grinding for? And the moment that question pops into your head is the moment you lose the player, because there's nothing there. Like there's not much to it. You're just literally pulling the lever. There's no reward at the end. You're just pulling the lever. And that is when the gambler realizes that they're pulling the lever and that's it, and they're getting nothing out of it, that's when they start to reassess their lives.
Nice, that's awesome. Thank you. Now, but before you move on. Yes, Caesar. That's right.
I like that you're telling that to Ben, who has like 4 150 leveled characters.
I love it, dude. I've got a problem. Before we move on, I just want to say it's not really a question, but just a comment just around obviously your Twitter game is fantastic. I just want to say for the folks listening, before you came on the show, you tweeted out a picture of obviously you at the moment saying, I have once again made myself look like both Jay and Silent Bob somehow. And that's perfection. That's the perfect tweet right there.
It is, yeah. It's an unfortunate realization that it happens like once every few months. I'm like, oh fuck, I look like Kevin Smith and the other guy, in one person, and it's just like
Isn't that kind of
nailed it.
sad that he's just known as Kevin Smith's friend? Like no, like
Jason Mewes, okay?
Jason
Ah,
Mewes, that's his
Great, I
name.
love him.
I know his name, but I just
I
like
was-
I'm terrible with names recently.
I
'Cause
was
used to
more
listen
yelling at
to
Caesar.
I've never
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
Jay and Silent Bob, but I know who Kevin Smith is. But I don't know
Yeah.
who.
Jay Mewes is like
It's hard. It's hard not
huge.
to know who
Yeah.
Kevin Smith is. I mean, he's such a cultural icon at this point.
Yeah. I mean, like Jay Mewes is like pretty big as well. Like he's got his own things going on, and like he's had an interesting journey as well, where he's got addicted to drugs for a while, and then like got straight and like is doing good things now, and it's really interesting. But yeah, people always forget Muse. I forgot him because I'm just terrible with names. Like I'm really bad with names.
Absolutely. Gage, did you have any questions before we move on to community questions?
I have so many questions. I guess first one I'm just gonna get it out of the way. So there's this game I really like, and I just want to know if you've played this game. It's developed by this small company called Capcom. It's called Dragon's Dogma. You ever heard
Oh,
of this game?
I've heard of this game. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's got a pretty good opening theme. It's got a good combat system. It's got an interesting climbing system and a pawn system that I like.
Huh?
It's a shame they didn't
Not porn.
Pawn,
Pawn.
Caesar.
pawn.
Pawn.
I was like, this is a
Um,
family show.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's
Fuck
sad that they
that
didn't bring that
specific.
back. They didn't bring that back because it is designed, I think, directed by Itsuno-san, right? It was like Devil May Cry 3 and then 4 and 5 as well, and so much potential in that franchise or in that game that just wasn't realized. I feel like they need another go around at it. But yeah, very, very good game. It holds up as well. It holds up really well. Like it's on Switch, and I remember playing it for a few hours on Switch and thinking, "Oh, it's still good." The Netflix show, absolute dog shit though.
Oh my
so
God, I couldn't even finish
do
it.
not
I
even
couldn't.
try and look at that. Yeah, apologies if you worked on that. I'm sorry, I called it dog shit, but you know what you worked on.
I actually finished that show, and
Sorry.
yeah, was not worth it.
No.
Was not worth it.
Yeah,
But anyway, yeah, Dragon's Dogma, great game.
good game.
Great game. Great game.
Bring it back, and bring like Beautiful Joe, God Hand, loads of Capcom. I was a big Capcom kid.
Those
I
are
still
never
am.
gonna happen.
Yeah, they're never gonna happen.
I wish.
I wish they would just re-release God Hand for like
That'd be
modern
great.
platforms.
Yeah.
Just as is. I would love that. Such a weird game. Wildly problematic as well now that I think about it. So maybe they shouldn't release that.
I
You know
mean,
what else is a weird Capcom game?
Go on.
Oh, Phil, you can.
I was
step
just gonna
forward.
say the ending credit song to God Hand is one of the most ridiculous things ever
is.
created.
It is. What a
But
great
yeah,
game.
like there's Marvel versus Capcom, and there's Injustice, where we get like crossovers of different fighting games. For you, I know Tam, you love Soul Calibur. What franchise would you pick if there were ever to be like a crossover with like Soul Calibur fighters? And, say,
when it comes to fighting games, I'm a Capcom fighting game person. Like I love Street Fighter was one of the games that made me love video games. But if I had to cross over something with Soul Calibur, I don't know. I feel like Soul Calibur exists in a way where characters are always coming into it, right? And
Crossing over, yeah.
and yeah, crossing over in really weird scenarios. Like
What about
I would have.
Rabbids?
Yeah, Rabbids go in a Soul Calibur fighting game. I was gonna say Tekken, but then like that's just a thing that's already happened. So Heihachi was in there. I don't know. Like it would be funny. It would be funny if they just crossed over with a game that had like just the most like completely different mechanics, and it just didn't make any sense. Like Soul Calibur versus Smash Brothers, where it just doesn't like those Smash characters just cannot sidestep, and
Soul
they're just
Calibur
getting
versus Forza.
yeah, Soul Calibur versus Forza, or like I don't know, Soul Calibur versus Punch Out, and it's like oh god, these characters are in a severe disadvantage. They can only punch left, right, and dodge.
I really wanted
swords.
to see Tekken versus Street Fighter come into existence. And we get some of that with Akuma being playable in Tekken 7.
Mm.
So at least we have an idea of what that could have been, but I still would have loved to have seen what the final product would have been for
Apparently,
that.
they're
Yeah.
still making it. This was like a long time ago. The director was like, "Don't forget about it."
I don't think so. I
Mm.
think they finally put the kibosh on that one.
Did they? I don't know.
Well, you
Finally.
get directors saying stuff like this because they need a groundswell of support. So
Yeah.
sometimes they'll say to fans, "Don't forget about this," or like, "We'd love to,"
So
you know,
there you
yeah,
go.
it's still it's like alive in my mind. So then they can get a little like I don't know trending thing going.
That's
So then
what
they can go to their
Ubisoft's
bosses
been
and be
doing
like,
with Splinter Cell for the past like 8 years. It's like we're
9
working on
years.
something, we're working on something,
Yeah.
and it's like a
They're
mobile
not-
game or an anime.
whatever. No.
What? Do you not
The
have a phone gauge?
Yeah, June 21st,
That's
2021.
the best
Tekken Cross Street Fighter canceled officially.
Never mind. I'm
Yeah.
stupid.
I'm stupid.
The crossover I want to return is Capcom versus SNK because CVS2
Oh
is
my
still one
God.
of the best fighting games of all time. So if they could if they could do a third game, and the thing is, like, it needs to be developed by Capcom for me, not SNK, because SNK versus Capcom just doesn't work for me. I'm not a huge fan of the old SNK fighting. I played a lot of them, but my preference was always Capcom.
Did you ever play SNK versus Capcom Chaos?
Yeah, I played it. A bunch of it. It's just
It's
something about
it's very SNK, so
yeah,
I
it's
understand if you don't
SNK.
like it.
I played a lot of KOF when I was younger, and it's just I don't like controlling Street Fighter characters in most other styles. Like it's the same goes for like Tekken. Like I didn't enjoy playing as Akuma, in that scenario.
I never said that Tekken versus Street Fighter would have been good. I just wanted to see what that mess was gonna be.
Yeah.
Well, Phil, if you want, no, I was
I
gonna
was
say,
gonna
if you
say,
want to see a
or they
modern,
just bring back Power Stone. Just bring back Power Stone. I
Oh,
don't know why
yes,
Power Stone
please.
doesn't exist in the modern day.
Phil, if you want a modern Tekken versus Street Fighter, just play Smash. There you go, easy.
It's
Right
true.
there.
You're not
Right there,
wrong.
right in your eyes.
Smash is an upsetting franchise.
All right, let's
Mc-
go ahead and get onto our community questions.
I was
Let's go
gonna
ahead and
say, I
just.
think McKenna
Oh.
still had a question, didn't you?
Oh, did you?
Or...
Oh, yeah. I can. Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry.
I can back out.
No, you're good. Please. All the
Um,
McKenna questions. This show needs every single one.
So I was curious what the biggest difference between moving from the UK to the US was.
As in generally, or as in like
Yeah.
within the work? I mean, like generally speaking, the biggest difference is, I mean, like on a living and existing in a country, it is much weirder in the United States. I don't know. Maybe I'm about to start a bit of an argument or like put people off, but I don't know how the people have convinced themselves that nationalized healthcare is a bad thing.
Because socialism.
I don't
Socialism's
understand
bad.
how
And,
people like it
Venezuela.
is literally the world is pointing and laughing at everyone here because the fact
Individuality,
that people
brother.
are like the fact that like we have the NHS in the UK and it's got its own problems and people are trying to dismantle it constantly, but it's genuinely one of the greatest things that has ever been created. Like if any of you went to the UK and hurt yourself, you would be able to get treated like any other citizen and be sent on your way at no cost, like nothing, or a very minimal cost. I've never paid the equivalent of more than $20 for medicine in my life.
But Tam,
Like,
don't
in
you want
my-
to pay $2,000 for a Band-Aid? Like, come on.
No,
Like, that
absolutely
sounds-
not. I went to the
the price of
dentist while I
freedom.
was
Please.
here. And when I came back, I had to ask my roommate if dentists were also salespeople because she tried to charge me $5,000, and I was like, I do not understand. And she was like, "Yep, everyone here in the healthcare industry will try and scam you." And that is a mad situation to be in. Like, I don't understand how Americans have convinced themselves that not having free healthcare for everyone is a bad thing. Like, mad.
I don't know if I want to throw this person under the bus, but I know somebody that works in healthcare, and they've said like, "Oh, the doctors I work with have been to those countries, and they say like the lines are terrible, the service is terrible, yada yada
Absolute
yada."
bullshit. Bullshit. It's 100% bullshit. Anyone who tells you that, I mean, like, I can speak for the UK. Our lines are not terrible. Like, we have a lot of people who need healthcare, but it's not like it. At most, I have never waited more than like 2 or 3 hours in an emergency room. Like, worst I've had is like maybe 5 or 6 hours when it was very, very, very busy. But I was in an emergency room. Like, and if I was in a bad way, it wasn't like I'm sitting in a line. They see me, I'm in a bad way, and they're like, "Holy shit, we need to." I had that situation where
It's
I
an
got hit
urgent,
by a
yeah.
car, and I got hit by a car in another country, and it was a racist country where they basically just left me to die on the side of the road. So I had to travel from that country back to the UK after being hit by a car and then go to a UK hospital. And when I came in, they were like, "What the hell happened?" And I was like, "I got hit by a car." And they immediately saw me. They didn't put me in a line. They saw me. And they kept me there. They ran tests. They did x-rays. They looked after me for an entire day. And then when they discharged me, they wished me the best and then sent me on my way. I never saw a bill. No one asked me for money. Nothing like that. And that's how it should be. And the fact that people say, "Oh, it's awful out there." No, they're trying to tell you something that doesn't exist. There probably are countries where that kind of medicine and healthcare is rough, but like, I don't know, man. I'd take that any day over not knowing how much, whether like the next illness to befall me is going to render me penniless and on the streets. Get a grip, America. The other thing is the tax system here is unreal. I don't understand what is going on. I have until this point, I have not even, in the UK, not even had to think about tax. It just gets done in the background. Unless I'm working for myself, which there was a period where I was employed. That's when I thought about tax and did some stuff, but that was a short period. Otherwise, you submit what is the equivalent of a social security number. You get one of those, and then all the tax just gets done in the background. And they send you an update to be like, "Hey, here's how your tax system currently works. If you've got any issues, contact us." And it just happens. When I came here, I was like, "What is this tax stuff?" And not only was it like, this is the most confusing shit, but it's created in a way where no one's allowed to tell you what is going on. Like,
Yeah, it's weird.
yeah, I had people in the company, the HR department, being like, "It is illegal for me to help you with this." And I
It's
was,
weird because it's this thing where like the IRS knows how much you owe them, but you need to figure it out.
yeah, and like, it seems entirely designed to push people towards H&R Block and TurboTax, which is
100%.
unbelievable. It's just like, I don't know how people are okay with that.
Freedom.
It's mad. It's mad. But also, this is an amazing country. Like, the people here are incredible. Like, it is a land of opportunities. It's got some absolutely wild food. It's got like, it's far too big. First of all, you don't need this much space. I'm a walking person, and that is like, it's not fun to walk around this country, or it's not fun to walk around most cities that I've been to. Which is like, Boston was nice to walk around in, but it was also mad cold when I went there, and there was ice everywhere, so I was just sliding everywhere. But like a place like San Francisco, not ideal to walk around, and that is like awful for me. I love walking, but like still amazing. Like, such nice people. Like, I love being here. In terms of working, it's way easier. Sadly, the world kind of, not sadly, but like, the fact of the matter is, like, the games industry is very America focused. And in a position where I'm in, like, it's hard to stay in lockstep with what's going on and what you need to do if you're outside of America. Um, I was the UK editor for a while, and that was fine. And then I took on like global news, head of news, and it was much harder because the news cycle was in other time zones. So I wasn't usually on the clock. I was always around still because I have problems, but that was where I needed to be. So coming here, like, it's much easier to work, and like and that opened up doors for me. Like, the only reason I can do Kind of Funny Games daily is because I'm there on the right time zone, and I'm able to talk to the crew there. I mean, I could have done it on the original time zone because I did do it for like 6 months on that time zone, but it's easier, And now, like,
Yeah.
if someone from Kind of Funny hits me up at 3 p.m., I can do it. or if someone from Giant Bomb's like, hey, are you up for doing a quick look at this time? I can do it. So it is easier, and there's more opportunities in America. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess what spurred that question was I'm hoping to study in the UK in the summer, so I was like, I wonder what the flip side like. I'll experience going from the
Oh,
US to the UK, so I was like curious.
what are you planning to study there?
I'm going for media production.
Okay,
So,
cool. Do I assume you're going for London?
mhm.
London is the best. It is such a good city. It's so nice. Like I would, and this is not someone who like I'm not like patriotic. I'm not nationalist. Like I have no allegiances to the country or any country. But I've been very fortunate to travel around, and London is like, for me, is subjective, but I'm going to say objectively speaking, one of the best cities I've ever been in. Like I wish I wish that everyone could go to London for a while. It's multicultural. It's so dense. It's everyone there is scared of their own shadow, which is like also kind of funny. But like you can get all kinds of food. You meet so many weird people, and it's not like it doesn't look like it's created in a like a engine generator like America is, where someone many years ago created a block and then copied and pasted it across an entire country. That's not how that country is. It's like you stand there and you can see the history of the city, and you like your roads aren't straight, they're twisting, turning. You walk down one alley and emerge in like an area where you're like, this is unbelievable. It seems like you're a Harry Potter fan. It is that is the world that it kind of is presented as is very, that's at least authentic. It feels like a magical place where you go down one alley and you're like, holy shit, this is incredible, I didn't know this was here. And the people are all like generally really nice. And it is a wonderful place to spend a period of time, and it is like you will grow and you will get such a perspective on life being there just by existing there, because you meet so many people and you hear so many perspectives. And I'd encourage you to, like, while you're there, don't just stay in one corner of London, go everywhere, because it's amazing.
Oh my god. Oh, thank. Oh my gosh.
I hope you go there. If you do end up going there, make sure you let me know, and I'll give you some guidance on where you should go and the things that you can check out, and I'll see if I can put you in touch with some
Top
people
tips.
as well.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. Oh, that'd be fantastic. Yeah,
Of
thank you.
course, of
Yeah.
course.
I apply applications open November, so like hopefully I'll know sooner rather than later. But yeah. Oh
Awesome.
my god, that'd be great. Thank
That's
you.
amazing.
All right, on to community questions. Let's go, Caesar.
Let's see here. My good friend Hoodie Peaks. He asks you. He's at the Penny Marvels on Twitter. He asks you, "How are you?"
I'm good. How are you? I can't reply, Ken. So,
Or
I'm
you're
doing
not.
good.
You're
You
gonna have
know,
to wait a week to hear from him.
yeah. I'm incredibly busy. It's the end of the year, so it's just like wild amounts of work. And I'm also very tired since I just moved back. Jet lag is a killer for me. But otherwise I can't complain, and I won't complain.
Okay.
He also said something else in that tweet, right?
He asks when you're gonna play Bloodborne with our friend Robin.
Oh, that would have been a great one if he was on the show. So never mind.
Okay.
We'll
I
keep
need to
that
go.
up.
I need to go back to Bloodborne. It's been a while since I've played. I've never played Bloodborne on stream. That's the thing that I've never done.
Yeah.
It's not been a while since I played it. I was playing it like last week. But like I've never streamed Bloodborne, and I don't know if I want to. Like, if I'm honest, like I enjoy watching other people play through Bloodborne, and I enjoy being part of their streams. But Bloodborne's quite a personal thing for me. Like, I don't know if I
Right.
want to open that up to the world to comment on, like, because I'm at the stage now where I love Bloodborne, and my love of Bloodborne I've worn on my sleeve, where I imagine when I play it, people are going to expect perfection. They're going to expect me to just absolutely, like,
That's true.
one shot kill every enemy and like tear through that game. That's not how I play that game. Like, I play that game in a very slow, methodical, just exist in the world kind of way. And I purposefully am not trying to min-max movement. I'm not trying to figure out the exact spots. I'm not trying to speed run it, because I don't want to demystify Bloodborne. That's part of why I love it. I'm not done the thing where I do with like a game like Sekiro, where it's like I've figured out things and I know the exact timing on things. I've tried not to do that because I want every time I return to it to feel like I'm new to this world, or like this world still has teeth to it. And I feel like that's not what people will come to me for when I stream it. They're gonna want me to be like, "Wow, he killed Father Gascoigne without taking any hits." And do that. I always want Father Gascoigne to be a threat.
Yeah, I feel like there's some games where I just rather play off of camera, off stream, because it's
Yeah,
just like it's personal. Like I tried to stream Breath of the Wild and I just couldn't because I was just trying to I was getting lost in the game too much.
yeah.
That's actually the reason I kind of stopped streaming, or one of the reasons is because I don't really know what I want to do with streaming, and playing video games is hard because for me, every game that I play is such a personal experience. I mean, I just spent 16 hours in my first playthrough on Metroid Dread. I
Mm.
see all these people with like 8 hour time clocks, 6.5 hour time clocks, 9.5 hour time clocks, and then I clocked in at 16 and a half, and I'm like, yeah, I play games a little different.
Yeah, mine was 13 hours. So and that's because like I spent a lot of time just poking at things and just
Zooming in.
looking at Samus's animations, and I spent at least 2 hours just running back and forward doing the shine spark for funsies.
Oh,
Yep.
but
And
Tam,
it's
it
just
had
like,
such horrible game design. You'd have to shoot at walls.
oh,
Or
I mean, so that's the thing. Like once you played one Metroid, you learn every wall needs to be shot. So
but they never
Yeah,
say it, even though it's at the beginning of the game.
yeah,
It's never
I
very clear.
I have so much stuff from that game that I would love to share, but I don't want to spoil anything. So the
mm,
only thing I've posted is the animation when you get next to a wall and she puts her hand on the wall.
yeah,
That's the only thing I've posted of it so far because I was like, wow, that is great attention to detail.
it's real good.
All right, next question, Caesar. I know
Oh,
you've got a
okay.
few. One more?
Um,
One more?
I guess we're talking about Bloodborne. What's your favorite? This is also from Kale, the one who asked the minority question earlier.
Mm.
They follow up with saying, "What's your favorite boss in each From Software game, or just
Oh,
one overall,
in each one
or
overall,
just
I
one?"
can do.
Yeah.
Counting
I could
Shadow
do pretty.
Tower.
Absolutely not. Um, in each one, I think Lady Maria is probably my favorite boss fight. Just because
Overall?
it's like, yeah, overall, it's an amazing boss fight within the context of Bloodborne, but then it's also the seed of Sekiro, which is like once you they love doing that. Like you each there's always one boss or one character that is they put in their game that will be the foundation of the what's to come. And that's like the one that everyone knows is Marvelous Chester, who's a character that shows up in I think it's Dark Souls. I think one of the Dark Souls games. I can't remember if it's 3 or 1. I think it's 1. Um, and he just looks completely like any other character in the game. He's just very strange looking. It's like a fantasy environment, and this dude shows up and he's wearing Victorian clothing, and he looks and behaves like no one else in the game, and that's because like he was a character created for Bloodborne, or like it was the first character they started experimenting with the idea of a Bloodborne in, and that's why he looks like a Bloodborne character. And Lady Maria is like this character you fight, and the fight feels like a Bloodborne encounter, but you also see exactly how they came up with Sekiro based on it. And also she's an amazing character, and the place where you fight her, the Astral Clock Tower, and who she represents and what she is within the overall lore of the game is pretty incredible. But I love that fight a lot. Dark Souls 1 Artorias is a pretty big boss fight for me. I like the one-on-one like challenging fights. I think Artorias is probably the one that sticks out for me. Dark Souls 2, I'm good. There's no one in there that I really care about. Like, I could take or leave any of that stuff. Dark Souls 3, like Slave Knight Gale, is probably a big one. Everyone loves that. He's canonically the final boss of the entire franchise. For the Dark Souls franchise, anyway, of the first three games. But there's the Dance of the Boreal Valley is pretty amazing as a boss fight, just because the ethereal kind of look of it. And then for Sekiro, there's so like every boss fight in Sekiro is pretty amazing. But if I had to pick one, I think it would probably be Genichiro. Yeah, Genichiro is a lot of fun, which they introduced in the DLC. But then Ishin is probably the one that is like most challenging and also like most rewarding to figure out. So it's either Genichiro or Ishin. Tie.
Nice. And then one more question, Caesar.
Off the top, sorry, rough throat. From our friend Johnny, the Super Video Brothers. Off the top of your head, what's your favorite Bionicle?
What's my favorite Bionicle? I don't think I've ever engaged with Bionicle as an IP in my life.
Is that why you gave me that question, Phil?
Yeah, I knew you'd hate it.
God,
I've seen the adverts for Bionicle when I was growing up, but I was like, no, I'm good. I'm all right.
They were great.
Al, how about
I mean,
your
I'm not
Sorry.
anti-Bionicle.
But you're
I'm sure
not.
Bionicle is amazing, but
You just don't know it.
passed me. It
Yeah.
just passed me by. Yeah,
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
passed me by.
I'd never heard Tamoor talk about it before, so I kind of figured that might be the case.
Yeah.
It was nothing cooler than picking up those plastic cylinders at like we have a store here called Buy Mart. It's kind of like Costco, but
Dollar store?
like
Oh.
I guess cheaper. And whenever we'd go there, we'd see a Bionicle. It's like, I'm gonna want that one. It's so cool. They're so much fun.
Thanks
All
for
right,
wasting your
Al.
time, Phil.
Let's
Tomorrow,
get
how are you doing
your,
on time, by the way?
What was that?
How are you doing on time? Do we still
I'm
have...
good. I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Al, go ahead with your community questions.
My first one has kind of been answered. It's from at Mike's C. Gulliver. Has it been getting used to living in the States? What do you miss from back home? And what do you love from there? Love you, Tam, and chuffed to see you in KF.
Oh, thank you. I answered the getting used to tough things getting used to in the States, I think. So I'll tell you what I miss. I miss tea bags, good tea bags.
Just play Halo.
Specifically, nah, I'm not that kind of tea bags. That's not the kind of tea bags I want in my mouth. PG Tips is a very specific British tea bag manufacturer, and I used to drink a lot. I drink a lot of tea because I'm basically the intersection of the two biggest tea drinking nations, which is I'm British and also I'm Pakistani, and that's like that's tea prime material. And so in this country they sell PG Tips, but it's classic American style to do. They've taken PG Tips and it's not the same PG Tips. It's an American version of PG Tips that they've made to look like PG Tips to trick all the British people. And I can taste the difference and I know the quality is different. So unfortunately, that's not freely available. I have to have it sent to me.
Can you not? Did they not sell them in import shops or anything like that?
They do sell them in import shops, but like I haven't found well they sell the import shops that I've found have been the American ones, and they're just like, hey, this is a British brand, and it's just like,
Right.
no, you've
So-
this is deceit.
All Tam wants is the tip, is what I'm hearing.
I want the tip, yeah, the PG tip, please.
The PG tip.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then what else do I miss?
Mr. Blobby?
Nah, Mr. Blobby sucks, man. He's annoying as hell. Your curry isn't very good in this country, sadly.
Yeah.
I've not had good.
I have a food-related community question.
Go on.
At Mega Slippers asks, humanity needs to preserve their history in a deep space archive. You have been chosen to select one mid-Thai recipe to go in the vault. What do you
Okay.
preserve?
I preserve the. I'm gonna go laddu. The laddu is the perfect mithai as a preservation, because
Right.
there's a mithai for people who don't know, mithai is like it's a South Asian confectionery. It's almost like cake kind of, but there's nothing quite like it. It's often made from it's very sweet often, but you can get like savory ones. And you if you just Google it, you're like, holy shit, this looks like it is just small cubes of diabetes.
Oh yeah, no, I'm getting a heart attack looking at this
Yeah,
right now.
it is pretty amazing. So like the one that most people really love is gulab jamun, but it's basically Gulab jamun is sponge that has soaked up so much syrup that it's just solid. When you bite it, it's like a gusher, but it is like overwhelming amounts of sugar. Like it is killer. It's so good. But the problem you have is I wouldn't put that in for preservation because it's like 50-50 whether people will walk away liking it. They might just eat it and be like, I don't like, it's too sweet, or I don't like the texture, or I think it's too sticky. So they could get the wrong idea about mithai from that. Whereas the laddu is like, it's a middle ground. It's not too sweet. It's not too sticky. Like it is like almost like the equivalent of sponge cake, where there's a very, very high chance that you will appreciate it. And because you appreciate that, it will naturally make you want to look at other forms of mithai. So I feel like it's a good like preservation as like a baseline setter, if you get what I mean. Like you wouldn't if you were preserving donuts, you wouldn't pick like the donuts that's got like, I don't know, Frosties and M&Ms on it and is like designed to make like your teeth fall out. You'd pick a very like baseline donut so that people are able to like reverse engineer it, recreate the donut, and then end up creating, very bad donuts from there. I feel like laddu is like a good like almost tabula rasa for mithai.
Thank you. I had to Google laddu. I knew it. I just didn't know which one it was by name.
Yeah, it's the yellow one. It's
Yeah,
the yellow
yeah.
one. Like, yeah.
That's very fascinating. Thank you for talking about that because I'm very
You can
look at me,
get
I'm
it.
very uncultured, as you can
You
tell.
can get it in America and Canada and various parts of the world. So I highly encourage you all to try and seek some out, especially if you want. If you've never had it before, it's real good. It's also very dangerous. It's like I was like when I was younger, I was incredibly way more unhealthy than I was now, and like mithai was a significant reason for it.
Yeah, I mean, I have enough
Yeah.
experience with that. I used to drink like 3 to 4 Coca-Colas a day on top of my usual intake of candy, sugary cereal, stuff
Damn,
like that. And
I
then I was
respect
like,
it.
I'm gonna die soon. I should stop.
And
Every
your
now
final
and then, every now and then a report comes out that's like minorities are very have a high risk of getting diabetes, and then everybody's like, I wonder why. And then you look at like the food that they prepare, like you look at the recipes, like Mexican,
Dude, I came
horrible.
I came to this country, and I have been feeling a bit weird for a while now, and I went to like get a checkup, and the doctor was like, you're at extreme risk of getting diabetes very soon. To me, and I was like, this is weird because I don't eat bad anymore. Like I had when I was younger, I used to, but like I had a diabetes scare when I was younger. They were like, if you carry on eating this way, you will die very soon. So I like sorted my life out in terms of diet and that kind of stuff. So I eat very clean. I work out between 5 and 6 times a week for about 2 to 2.5 hours a day. And then I went to this doctor and he was like, you're about to get diabetes. And I was like, excuse you? What? And I was like, how do I stop this from happening? And he was like, eat well and get loads of exercise. I was like, that's literally all I do. And he was like, well, good luck then. It's like, great. Sweet.
It's in the blood.
Dang.
It's in the blood, honestly.
Yeah, it's not even in my family, so I've just been inflicted with diabetes for no reason
You just got
whatsoever.
unlucky.
I just feel like absolutely done by the universe.
All right, Al, finish with that final question you have, that final community question.
This one comes in from @timekills17. They're asking, when is the next Born to Run episode going to be available?
Oh, that's an interesting question because it's very specific to Giant Bomb. The next episode of Born to Run is going to be, I don't know, is the answer. And the reason is because so Born to Run is a show that Danny O'Dwyer and I started on Giant Bomb, and it's like a Souls franchise playthrough. The problem we have right now is it's incredibly busy. We're both extremely busy. And we were filming it when I was in the UK. Yeah, it's that time of the year. And
I mean,
also
the managing editor of GameSpot and the
Exactly.
guy who runs NoClip like are busy.
Yeah, we're both surprisingly doing stuff that isn't just Born to Run. But on top of that, like Giant Bomb itself has like needs that they need to be met that weren't being met. Not weren't being met, but are becoming harder to meet because obviously Jeff Gersman went away. He's on paternity leave for a while, which means that certain things and the staff is like reduced amount. So there's certain things that other people expect, like quick looks and podcasts and that kind of stuff, that become harder to produce if we're working on certain shows. And one of the things that we're doing is Danny's working on trying to do more gameplay stuff around quick looks and that kind of stuff, and he's got limited time and I have limited time, so it just means that we had to put it on hiatus for a bit. We're not done with it. We're going to bring it back because it's something that we're excited and care about, so it will come back, and hopefully it's soon, and it'll be easier and more interesting because now Danny is close to me. I live nearby him again. But right now we just kind of needed to put it aside so that for the greater good, and have these other forms of content that more people are looking at, the bread and butter, until we're ready and we have got like the breathing room to bring it back and do what we intended to do with it when we started out.
And then Gage, I know you have a Giant Bomb related question in your list.
I do. Thank you very much for it, Phil. It comes from Seth Palmer at Parmesan on Twitter. Why bring Bacalar Pain?
I bring Bacalar Pain. I don't bring Bacalar Pain. Bacalar is discovering pain more than so like this is a reference to the show that we do, me, Lucy, and him, called The Very Online Show. And
Very good show.
thank you so much. That we're not inflicting pain upon him. We're just showing Jeff the corners of the internet that exist. And it just so happens when you get there, you get pain. And that's just it. That's the way it exists. Pain is existing entirely around you. Like you can't blame us for inflicting pain on him. He's asked to be educated in the way of the internet, and in doing so, it's like if you hired a personal trainer, and then after the workout you are like, you hurt me. It's like, you can't blame me for hurting you. I asked you to do the thing that you asked me to do, which is to train you, and by doing that, the byproduct of it is you are now in pain. That's your decision, your problem. It's the same thing, basically, except he's not getting fit or anything. He's just
Phil. I did
seeing
it.
people making food in toilets and stuff like that.
That's really
Wait.
funny.
Wait, so Tamoor, I know. Oh, wait, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, for the people that don't know, who are watching and not just listening, Gage has just put Jeff Bacalar's face behind.
There he is. There he is. That specific screen cap is from the latest episode, which is all about family vloggers, which are a blight on this universe. And it's just like mothers and fathers turning their kids into performing monkeys for content.
Wait, so Tamoor, I know you would consider yourself a fan of Hassan Piker, right?
Yes, I am a Hassan Piker fan.
Have you showed Bacalar Kusi? Have you showed him?
Kusi is too far. Kusi
Okay.
is too far. I feel like
Okay.
that's the problem we have is with Kusi is the origin point of Kusi is cars.
Yes.
And he has a child. And
Got it.
I'm
Okay.
not sure how much that kid loves Cars or Pixar. And if it turns out like that kid is super into Cars, Jeff Bacalar is going to be in a situation where he's going to have to engage. Because once a kid likes a movie, they watch it like 20 million times a day.
Yes.
So if I tell him what Kusi is, and then his kid's like, I want to watch Cars for the 15th time, that's going to be like really horrible. It's like that scene, like, are any of you Naruto fans or no Naruto?
Yeah.
So you know the scene where Kisame and Itachi attack the Hidden Leaf for the first time, and Kakashi tries to use his Sharingan, and Itachi does his like that Genjutsu where he's basically suffering for like years and years, but in the real world it's been 30 seconds. That's what it would be like if I told him about Kusi and then his kid likes Cars. Like, he'd be eternally suffering, and only half an hour has passed in the movie. So I don't want to inflict that on him. For people who don't know what Kusi is, don't search it. Your life is better
That's
off.
basically it. Just know it's horrible and it's
Just know
related
it's
to
a
cars.
horrible
That's
thing.
all you need to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
You can probably take a guess as to what it is, but just don't Google it.
Yeah.
Or do. I'm not your boss.
All right, Gage,
Yeah.
let's try and get through these other community questions.
Okay.
It was related.
Okay, this is a pretty good one. Comes from Matt Hawking at MJ Hawking on Twitter. Once Elden Ring, or if Elden Ring ever comes out, what is the next big game on the horizon that you can see yourself obsessing over every new scrap of information about?
Huh. I'm not sure. I can't see past Elden Ring right now. Like it's difficult to see past Elden Ring.
It's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, it is a lifestyle. I don't really know, honestly. Like, there's not much out there that, like, I'm excited about a lot of games, but there's very few games that I feel like this could redefine a lot of my life in a big way. Like, or it's something that I'm gonna obsess over, and I know I'm gonna be thinking about a lot. I mean, that's why I assume it could come out and it's absolute poo, in which case I have to just reckon with that. I'd be very surprised because From Software very rarely puts out bad games. Even the Souls games at the bottom of the rung, like Dark Souls 2, are still a cut above most other games. But there is a very real possibility that, Elden Ring comes out and they miss the mark, and then nothing happens, and I move on with my life. I'm not obsessed with them to the point where I don't see bad and good. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about the potential of being obsessed with it. But right now, beyond that, there's very few things that I'm like, oh God, I need this badly. The ones that probably stick out are, there's the Batman games, or not the Batman games, but Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad. I'm very excited for, and there is a Mass Effect game in development. There is a new Dragon Age game in development. So who knows if that Metal Gear Solid remake that I've heard many, many, many times about comes to fruition. That could be it. But yeah, at the moment, I'm just ready for Elden Ring. I'm going to focus my efforts on Elden Ring, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Tamoor, if I may ask, what do you think of the rumors of 3 being remade? And if you were given the choice, which one would you want to remake for an audience that never, like, a blind audience of current gamers?
That remake rumor has been knocking around for a while. And I said it on Twitter. It's something I've heard about many times. I've heard about it enough times to feel confident that it is happening. So I'm excited about the prospect of that. If I had to pick one that I would want remade, it's Metal Gear Solid 1, easily. I feel like it's a better I feel like it's a better entry point for people. I think Metal Gear Solid 3 is an amazing game. And it's also a game that I feel like has a complete story that doesn't rely on other games. And that's why they probably picked it. And it's also the one that's got like mainstream acclaim as well as niche gamer acclaim. But for me, like, Metal Gear Solid 1 is iconic. And I would love to see it remade. I know Twin Snakes exists. I think Twin Snakes sucks, and I don't want anything to do with it. But I would love to see a full remake of Metal Gear Solid 1, because that would be incredible.
Do you think this could potentially be a chronological choice? They're going to start with 3 and then go from there, and then do like Metal Gear 2.
No,
I guess they do Peace Walker, and then they would.
Yeah, I it could be, but I don't think Konami is planning that. I don't think Konami can barely make a game right now. Like,
fair, Konami doesn't
so
make games.
yeah, Konami, like, outside of Pachinko, Konami's barely making games. So I doubt there's a vision for them to remake multiple Metal Gear Solid games, and they're starting with 3. I think they're picking the one that they looked on the internet and they went to Google Trends and typed in Metal Gear Solid, and Metal Gear Solid 3 had the higher bar graph, and they were like, that's the one, let's do it.
Well, we did make that pachinko machine, and
Yeah.
people seem to really make a lot of
very
news
into it.
articles about that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like that is generally the thinking behind it. I would love if they remade a bunch of the games. Like, I feel like going back and remaking Metal Gear is a good thing to do, especially given how Metal Gear Solid 5 ends. They have something to work with there now, an interesting kind of narrative conceit to work with. Are they going to do it? Probably not. No. I would love for them to partner with a well-known developer to make that game instead of trying to do it themselves. I don't think they have the capacity to do it themselves as it stands. And I would rather, if my choices are outside of having no Kojima involvement, if my choices are Konami tries to make it on their own, or finding a studio pitching them outside of them, like, even if it's an American or Western studio being like, we have this vision, I'd rather see a fresh perspective come at it and do it. that would be really fascinating, I think.
All right, your final community question, Gage.
This comes
I
from
feel like this one was just to rhyme.
yeah, kind of. This one comes from Sandwich Jones at Sandwich Jones on Twitter. He asks, "What's your favorite?" Or I should say, they ask because I don't know. What's your favorite jam to slam on toast?
Jam to slam on toast. What is my favorite jam?
Wasn't there
I
another
think
of them? Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm trying to think of what it sounds very plain, but I just straight up strawberry jam. Like it's good. It's good. I think the one thing I'll say about jam, so it's not a boring answer, that's strawberry jam. I don't know how people feel about this, but jam is better when you keep it in the fridge. There's something about colder jam that works really well, especially because on toast, especially if it's hot, when you spread it on there, there's a nice like temperature differential that really helps the eating experience for jam on toast. So like if you keep your jam in the fridge, just try it, keep your jam in the fridge. Also like it's it's less gloopy, if you get what I mean. When you leave it at just outside, when you start spreading it, it like thins out, if you get what I mean, and it just like clumps in weird ways. Whereas it remains a bit more solid when you're in the fridge. And the trick to it is spread it with a spoon. So you like spoon it out and then spread it with the back end of a spoon, and you can get like an even spread. And you can also control the thickness. You just keep adding to it, and because it's like slightly cold, it holds its form. So instead of like bunching up when you spread it, you just create this layer, and you can keep adding to the layer until you get to where you want. And then you've got a nice cool jam, evenly spread on top of warm toast, and it's a good experience.
That is cold strawberry jam is one of the only things in my refrigerator right now. And so
There you go.
there you go.
Making
you
good
go.
choices, you know.
See, McKenna knows. McKenna knows.
You know,
She's
Ben,
off to
which one-
London and she keeps her jam in the fridge.
there we
Big
go.
brain behavior.
Ben, weren't you the one that didn't know the difference between jam and jelly?
I don't know about this American jelly. I don't know what you're all talking about. I know what jam is. I don't understand.
I think you've got the right idea of a jam. American jelly, I'm not 100% sure what it is, but like I assume it's some sort of abomination.
It sounds scary.
I don't even know the difference, honestly. I've had both, and it's like I still can't tell the
I
difference.
can't tell the difference.
People have tried to explain it to me. I'm convinced there's no difference.
The thing that I think it is like jam. For me, in my mind, jam has like it at least tastes natural, like it was made from actual like
Sure.
fruit.
Yeah.
Whereas jelly is
Preserves,
like
yeah.
we found chemicals and put them together.
Okay, Tim, I have a question for you that might upset Ben.
Mm.
Vegemite or Marmite?
As in, what would I pick?
Yeah, what's your favorite, or what do you prefer?
Marmite is the correct answer.
Yes.
Woo! But having said that, I'm not a fan of it that much. Like you have to kind of develop. Like I don't mind it. I just would like not like lean on it to be like it's not a staple for me. Like if it's there and it's not an everyday thing. I will say, I don't know if you've tried it. Have you had the Marmite peanut butter?
Oh yeah.
That is, I found that when I went back to the UK, my brother was like, "Look at this aberrant abomination that we've got here," and I was like, "Give it to me, let me try it," because I love peanut butter. So like, and that was very good. I really like that. And like, so I will take Marmite if it's there as an option.
Pizza, it's a revelation. Yeah.
On what?
Great. On pizza, it's great.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I've never tried that.
Ben, we don't want to kill our guest. He already said he's very high risk of diabetes.
All right, McKenna, let's move on to your community questions.
All right. So first one's from Frankfurter. And they ask, when was the last time you shaved your beard? Not saying that he wants you to, just curious.
Oh, okay. When was the last time I shaved my beard? I think it was just before I came back to the UK, which would have been 2 weeks ago.
We came back to America, you mean?
But America, yeah, 2 weeks ago, because I was going into the US Embassy for an interview, and I wanted them to not look at me like I was a threat. So I trimmed my beard because stereotypes, that kind of stuff.
Okay, you say trimmed. You didn't like clean shave?
Oh no, not clean shave. It's been years since I clean. Like I don't. The thing is, like, if I clean shave, I will lose like 10 years. Like I look like a child without my beard. Like a tired child. Like that's what I look like. So I try and keep it. Like it looks to me, it looks weird. Like there are people that prefer it. Like my mom always wants me to shave my beard, and I have some friends who are like, "You look
That's
way
moms, isn't it?
younger." Yeah, my friends are like, "You look way younger without the beard, so you should just do that." But I prefer it. Also, like it's good to like just pull in and play with. So it's been a long time since I fully shaved it, and the last time I shaved it was an accident. Like I misjudged the trim, and it had to go because of it.
Oh no. And then just sticking with hair questions.
Okay.
What shampoo and conditioner? Oh, sorry. Kelsey Christmas asks,
Oh,
what shampoo
Kelsey.
and conditioner do you use?
So there's a. I'm gonna try and bring it up on Amazon. I'll check what it is. So there is a generally the shampoos that I go for. I try and find something with argan oil in it. And the one I found, the one I use is a brand called OGX. And it's got argan oil in it. I think argan oil is really good for your hair. And when I was younger, so like when I was growing up, my parents, or my dad and my mum were just like they would shave my hair my head frequently, and they would like massage oil into it, pumpkin oil, because they were like, this is gonna make your hair nice and strong, and it's gonna make your hair grow. And I was like, you guys are just making shit up, and you have no idea what you're doing. And I was wrong, because it grew it grew very fast, and it continues to grow and like now I'm old, so my hair's undoubtedly going to start falling out. It's like thinning in areas as well, because I'm old as hell now these days. But like those are good. I also like I went when I was back in the UK, like when I was with my mother, she has this absolutely horrifying concoction that she created. Like she didn't create it, it was passed down through the generations, and it's like the most disgusting thing you will ever smell. It's like certain types, like pumpkin oil with like egg yolk and all these other things. Like, and like she put it in my hair, and it like made me gag with how stinky it was. But she was insistent that it would make my hair thicker and shinier, and it was right. It was very shiny, but it made me want to throw up. But day to day, I use that OGX branded argan oil shampoo and conditioner, and I wash it every like 2 or 3 days, because you want to let the oils build up naturally and then wash them out. This is all stuff I learned from smarter, more experienced women in my life. So thank you to all the various women in my life that have told me how to look after my hair, because I'm utterly useless on my own.
Wait,
Like
so you're telling me I'm not supposed to use a 3-in-1 hair conditioner body wash?
as far as I know, that's not a good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that is what I would lean towards for convenience.
Yeah.
But I have been chastised by multiple ladies.
So what we're taking away from this is gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss.
Girl
That-
boss.
Slay
Slay
Queen.
Queen, wash your
and-
hair with shampoo and conditioner.
Not the 3-in-1 body wash.
Not the
so
3-in-1.
got it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Ben. What about your community questions?
I've got to. Are you still going all right for time, Tam? I've got just two.
Yeah, I've got
minutes.
like 5 minutes.
Okay, cool.
Should be good.
We can even do quick fire, but this one comes from Aaron at AaronRoots427, who says, pick your 5 favorite villains from MGS and put them in a battle royale. Who comes out on top?
In a battle royale? Ooh. I feel like villains technically, like I can't pick my 5, but I feel like Grey Fox wins most fights against people. Like, I don't think there's anyone that could beat him. The only thing that stopped him really was his own creeping madness, coupled with being stepped on by a giant walking nuclear battle tank. And even then, he did put up a pretty decent fight against it. So if it's just like if we're not counting Metal Gears, I feel like Grey Fox, Frank Yeager wins most times. But there are like some like X factors, like the bosses from Metal Gear Solid 4 have some weird shit going on with them. And technically Quiet could be quite annoying for Grey Fox, but I feel like he'd be okay. He's got good reaction times and a big old sword.
Awesome. Love it. And
Actually,
Resi-
maybe Fat Man could be pretty. I want to get behind Fat Man because I like Fat Man. Gray Fox would absolutely kill him, but I still want to get behind Fat Man.
Fat Man got me into rollerblading back in the day, so shout out to Fat Man.
Fat Man got me into being fat, so inspiration in many ways.
This one comes from Reese Boy at _Reese Boy. Shout out to you, Reese Boy. He writes, would you rather have a sequel or a prequel for Bloodborne?
Would I rather have a sequel or a prequel for Bloodborne? I'm thinking about the narrative implications. I think the prequel probably has more stuff to work with the Thumerian ruins and that kind of stuff. But I wouldn't mind I would take either, honestly. Like, it just has to be from software. Like, I don't want, like, Mercury Steam presents Bloodborne. I'm not into that. I think the narrative potential for a prequel, there's a lot to work with there, like I said. Yeah, so I'd go with that.
Great choice.
All right. So from Nihalia and at Jupy314, they ask, when is your birthday, or when is your actual birthday?
My birthday is every day. Because my mantra is, like, I've mentioned it, like, is live every day like it's your birthday. And that is what I do. Every day is my birthday. And this is a reference to a goof that I do on Twitter, where occasionally I'll just be like, "Oh, it's my birthday," and everyone's like, "Oh, happy birthday!" And I did that because, like, it's something that my younger brother used to do, where he'd tweet at a celebrity and be like, "Hey, it's my birthday. Can I get a retweet?" And he'd see what celebrities would just do it. He did that for like a week, and I found it pretty funny. And then I started doing it because it kind of shows truly how many people are paying attention to you, instead of like registering what your birthday actually is. They just see the word birthday and they're like, "Oh, this person's just, a happy birthday," and then they move on with their life. It's like, are you really paying attention to when that person's birthday is? And also because I just find it funny.
And then
thank you for making time for us on your birthday.
It's okay, man.
It's okay.
Twitter Critter said, has he got an album coming out or what?
Do I have an album coming out? I can't. I'm not at liberty to say whether I have an album coming out. There's certain contracts that I need to sign before I can commit to something. I will say I've been working on music for a long time, and with any luck, it'll never see the light of day.
And then Corey206 has a question, but I'm going to have to move on really quick to try and get this other one out. Because David Osborne at Bright Gear says, do you think we'll ever see Soul Reaver again in our lifetimes? Or is it much like Silk Song, a cruel lie we tell ourselves to feel better? I added the Silk Song part.
I can only hope that we'll see a Soul Reaver in our time. Do I think it's realistic? No, I don't think Square Enix is caring much about it. I think they're foolish for not caring about it, but I have to live my life believing that it will happen, because otherwise there's not much to live for, is there?
And then I'm going to read this question out. If budget was no issue, what's the game you'd want to make or have made? You can answer it or not, but you can also pimp out anything you want to throw out there. Let us know what you're doing in the game space, anything you want to tell people about before we close out the show.
So going off that last question, if I had unlimited budget and could get any game made, I would get From Software to make Soul Reaver, a new Soul Reaver game, or a new Legacy of Kain game, because that would be easy. They can make that like that. That is basically what they have been making for many, many years. Like, it is Soul Reaver, and the Souls games have a lot of lineage and similarities. And then the backup to that is like give From Software Castlevania, because they could make another one of those, and because Castle Cainhurst is basically a Castlevania game. What I'm saying is, like, From Software are the best developers. Just give them anything, and just give them DDR, and they'll probably make an amazing game. From Software presents Pokemon. I want to see that. From Software's, yeah, exactly. And then you can find me on Twitter. Just at Tamoor H. You probably shouldn't go there, because I just tweet bullshit all the time. So it's just nonsense there. And then GameSpot, Giant Bomb, Twitch. That's pretty
Links
much it.
will be in the description.
Thank
you. Thank you, everybody, for watching the show today. If you liked what you watched, please hit that notification bell, hit the like button, share us around the web. Look forward to hearing it on podcast services finally. And have a wonderful day.
Thank you for having me.
tuning in. Absolutely. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much, Tam. That was awesome.
All right.